The Xtremity TT socket is formed over a positive limb model. Use your preferred casting or scanning method and modification technique to obtain a positive limb model. Remove excessive buildups from around the proximal brim to prevent overstretching of the socket. Maintain a round shape without flattening the posterior wall. Ensure the limb length does not exceed the length of the socket by measuring from the most proximal trim line to the distal end of the limb model. This length should be no more than 29 centimeters. Socket sizing is determined using 3 measurements. First, take a circumferential measurement 4 centimeters from the distal end to determine the socket size. Then, use the length measurement from MPT to the distal end and the circumferential measurement at MPT to determine the socket profile per size, as shown here. Move your finished and smooth limb model to the vacuum stand. Add spacers between the model and vacuum stand to ensure the socket will not contact the stand once it's pulled. Then apply a vacuum nylon. Place the socket into the Xtremity benchtop heating unit and ensure proper alignment on the pedestal. If using size 26 or 26 plus, insert the rubber O-ring around the distal base of the socket and place the lid over the socket base. To begin heating, press the power button to turn the unit on. Press start to accept the temperature, then press start again to accept the time, and start once more to begin heating. The timer will start counting down once the oven reaches the set temperature. Ensure all supplies are laid out next to the vacuum stand. Once the timer alarms, remove the socket from the heating unit by the socket base. Apply powder to the inside of the socket and gently pre-stretch. Identify the posterior seam on the outside of the socket. Ensure correct socket rotational alignment using the posterior seam and the medial and lateral distal base cutouts. Maintaining this alignment, pull the socket down over the model from the proximal end. Use the base plate to push down from the distal end to prevent distal base distortion. Adjust base alignment if needed. Ensure distal contact between the limb model and the socket. Place a piece of tape over the hole in the distal base to create a seal and apply vacuum. Once cool, remove from vacuum and draw trim lines. The Xtremity TT requires an anterior trim line of 2.5 centimeters proximal to MPT to maximize socket strength and maintain warranty. Trim, remove the socket, and smooth and buff the proximal brim of the socket. Ensure the outer surface of the brim is smooth to preserve suspension sleeve life. To install the pin lock system, insert the locking bridge into the distal base, ensuring the button is on the appropriate side. Then add the foam spacer ring. To install the suction suspension system, thread the air valve base into the hole in the distal socket using the provided 8mm hex wrench. Press the suction release bridge into the base and then add the foam spacer ring. For vacuum suspension, drill a hole using a 5/32 inch drill bit into the base vacuum port. Use a 10/32 inch tap to thread the base vacuum port from the distal end and thread in the air hose barb. Thread the air valve base into the hole in the distal socket using the provided 8mm hex wrench. Insert the suction bridge assembly and connect the vacuum hose. Then insert the foam spacer ring. To install the base plate for all suspension systems, first attach the 4-hole distal adapter to the base plate assembly using the M6 flathead screws, threading them through the base plate assembly into the base ring. If using vacuum, pass the vacuum hose through the hole in the base plate. Line up the base plate holes with the threaded insert in the distal base with the M4 socket head screw and lock washer. Press the base plate into place and thread in the remaining screws. Adjust the base plate to the desired alignment, then tighten all screws. Loctite and torque all screws to the correct settings. Check the fit of the socket to identify areas that need adjustment. Use a heat gun to heat the area, keeping it at least 2 inches from the socket to ensure even heating. Wearing insulated gloves, adjust the socket as needed. This process can be repeated multiple times throughout the lifetime of the prosthesis to ensure a comfortable fit for your patient, allowing them to spend less time in your clinic and more time living.